Build a Big Podcast. I'm David Hooper. Let me tell you about NaPodPoMo. It's a funny name, right? It stands for National Podcast Post Month. You may have heard of National November Novel Writing Month or something. Happens every November. NaPodPoMo is similar. You're not writing a novel, you're podcasting. The goal, 30 episodes in 30 days. Here's the backstory. In 2007, 50 podcasters participated in the first National Podcast Post Month, aka NaPodPoMo, created by Jennifer Navarrete. You like that? Got to roll those R's. As an answer for an audio version of the other 30-day challenges happening in the month of November. NaPodPoMo is a month-long event along the same vein as National Novel Writing Month, aka, here's the name I messed up, NaNoWriMo. The difference? Instead of writing a 50,000-word novel, you podcast every day for 30 days from November 1st through 30th. Use any platform you desire, from full production studio to iPhone app or just about anything in between. The goal of NaPodPoMo is to use the challenge of podcasting daily as a form of podcasting boot camp. For some, NaPodPoMo may be their first foray into podcasting. For others, it is a chance to try out a new platform or start another show. There are no hard and fast rules as to how you do this. If on November 30th you've recorded 30 shows, then you win. Here's my history with NaPodPoMo. This podcast, Build a Big Podcast, started as a NaPodPoMo podcast. I wanted to get better at being a solo podcaster. I was used to playing music. I was used to doing interviews. I was used to having co-hosts. But for me to sit behind a mic, stand behind a mic, not as easy. I came in 2 weeks late. Didn't get started on time. And one of the reasons I wasn't on time was because I was coming off of a seminar I had done. And that seminar was called Big Podcast. It was about how to market yourself as a podcaster. Previously to that, and I still talk about this stuff, we'll talk about books, doing live speaking events, doing your own boot camps, spreading your message beyond podcasting. But Big Podcast, that event, solely focused on podcasting. So I had the material ready. I wanted to be a better podcaster, and I thought, well, why not put those two things together and actually do a podcast on podcasting? So what I did, I took the 15 days that I had left, I doubled up 2 episodes per day. 15 days later, 30 episodes in the can. But I didn't just stop there. I ended up doing about 260 episodes, I think. I called it Big Podcast Daily. I did 260 days in a row. And eventually I was like, man, I just can't keep this volume up. Changed to Build a Big Podcast, which you are listening to now. It is still going 2 years later. So I love the concept of NaPodPoMo. It's one of those things that allows you to try new things. There's no worry if you end at the end of 30 days and you say, yeah, that didn't work out, or I didn't like doing solo podcasting. But maybe you'll be like me. You really like it. You like it better than doing interviews. You like it better than co-hosting. And you like the topic that you're doing. The result for me, not only did I change the name of the company that I'm doing to Big Podcast and start to really double down on podcasting, I also wrote a book, which I'm voicing right now, 93,000 words, focuses on podcasting. People don't know this, but the reason that this book took 4.5 years, one of the reasons, it was eventually going to be a trilogy. Part of it was about podcasting, part of it was about live events, and part of it was about book publishing. It was about how to spread your message. But again, doubling down, a lot of that because of what I learned during NaPodPoMo. Had such a good time talking just about podcasting. Well, kept it up. So here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm getting back in the trenches of NaPodPoMo this year with my own podcast. It will be available here on Build a Big Podcast, and it is a solo podcasting challenge. Every day I'm going to be coming to you with a topic. I'm going to give you that topic, give you some hints on how to work with it. You turn around, talk about this topic, and that's your episode. I will hold your hand through these 30 days. So if you're wondering, what am I going to talk about for 30 days? Well, I got you covered on that. And at the end, you will be amazed at how much you improve your podcasting skills during this month. To make sure that you do not miss this, I want you to do two things. One, I want you to get on my mailing list. And two, I want you to subscribe to this podcast. You can do both of these things through the same URL. It's very easy to remember. Go to bigpodcast.com/subscribe. I've got a mailing list. I want to say mailing list. It's not much, man. Send out a newsletter, 3 or 4 times a month. Low volume, takes you about 3-4 minutes to read, but it's going to keep you updated with opportunities such as things you can actually use to make your podcast better. Bigpodcast.com/subscribe is how to do it. And I'll see you on the next episode of Build a Big Podcast and as a fellow participant in this year's NaPodPoMo. Talk soon.